because we believe that Nigeria is facing a very critical time in the country's trajectory. Now, we believe also that Nigeria is also at a very serious time when the US is looking at designating Nigeria of a particular concern for some reasons for which the US has stated. Now, we also know that the formation of private militia group is not something that is good for Nigeria. What we know today as Boko Haram did not start as Boko Haram. Yes. It started as, they had names like ECOMOG. Now that is the local ECOMOG and all that, not the recognized government ECOMOG. Where they had some other name for themselves, where they arrogated to themselves the power of enforcement of laws. These laws were created by them. Now, what we are saying is that the creation of a parallel Hizbah body, in Kano State, which have links with political affiliations, is not healthy for Kano State, is not healthy for the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It is an urgent call that the DSS must take decisive steps to ensure that this ugly militia group that is tearing up his head will be clamped down in the interest of the overall unity of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And then that will also show the international community that Nigeria is not a banana republic. It will show that Nigeria is a decisive country that is serious-minded with fighting security challenges. We cannot be talking about how who and who is funding terror groups, where somebody is already articulating 12,000 young able-bodied men, and we are busy asking questions. If we want Nigeria to survive, this militia group must be put to an end. Thank you. But a clear and present danger to Nigeria's fragile security architecture and constitutional order. At a time when the nation is grappling with widespread banditry, insurgency, and the severe implication of being designated a country of particular concern (CPC) by the United States of America on religious freedom grounds, the establishment of a parallel unregulated enforcement group is an act that directly challenges the state's exclusive monopoly on the use of force. Allowing this group to operate would set a dangerous precedent that empowers political actors to create private, armed, or quasi-security militia, fundamentally undermining the democratic structures and the rule of law. The dangers of allowing parallel enforcement structures. The operational existence of a privately funded and politically linked enforcement group, distinct from the legally established Kano State Hizbah board, present four critical dangers. A. Direct threat to public order and sovereignty. The core function of a state is maintaining monopoly on legitimate coercion. The creation of a rival force or enforcement body invites anarchy by establishing multiple competing centers of power and authority. This can lead to 1. Violent clashes. Competition and rivalry between the legal Hizbah Commission and the parallel group could easily escalate into violent confrontations, placing innocent citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria at risk. 2. Public confusion. Citizens would be unable to distinguish between legitimate state authority and an unregulated private group, leading to widespread compliance issues, fear, and instability. 3. erosion of state authority. It effectively creates a state within a state, enabling private individuals to exert policing powers without democratic accountability or legal oversight whatsoever. B. High risk of unchecked human rights abuses. Unregulated vigilante or enforcement groups are inherently prone to abuse, lacking formal training, oversight mechanisms, and adherence to due process. Members of parallel Hizbah group will likely engage in A. Arbitrary arrest and detention, actions based on personal vendetta or political directives rather than codified law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Again, intimidation and extrajudicial actions, violation of citizens' fundamental rights, including the right to fair hearing, personal liberty without recourse to established justice channels. C. Politicization and instability. The clear political loyalty alleged to be driving this group turns a supposed religious initiative into a dangerous political weapon. This fuels inter-party tension, potentially using the 12,000-man structure to 1. Intimidate political opponents, creating a private army disguised as a moral guide to suppress dissent or influence elections. 2. Sabotage governance, disrupting the lawful activities of the current state government of Kano State through parallel enforcement and misinformation. D. The Boko Haram analogy, escalation to extremism. The historical trajectory of extremism or extreme groups in Nigeria is often rooted in the unchecked proliferation of unregulated use-based enforcement of vigilante organizations. As the background documents notes, groups like Boko Haram started with different names, such as the ECOMOG. In fact, Boko Haram started as a group known as ECOMOG, which later metamorphosed into the Hydra-headed Boko Haram we know today. It started as a vigilante group, powers to enforce laws, created by them. Now, allowing a large politically funded group of 12,000 disengaged youths to organize under a private religious banner creates a fertile ground for the following. 1. Radicalization. The lack of accountability and the political context can facilitate the injection of extremism ideologies. 2. Militarization. What starts as moral policing can quickly evolve into a fully fledged private militia capable of armed conflict. The urgent imperatives to investigate funding and motives. The most critical area of concern demanding immediate and rigorous investigation by the Nigerian Police Force and the Department of State Services, the DSS, is the financing of this alleged parallel force. A. Source of funding, a public interest concern. The mobilization of sustenance of a 12,000 personal group requires significant and sustained financing resources. This is a grave public interest matter, raising questions of 1. Laundering and diversion of public funds. Could the funds be derived from ill-gotten gains or diverted public resources now being used to finance private political ambition. 2. Illicit resources. Is this financing linked to criminal enterprises, kidnapping for ransom, or other illicit activities that are fueling the national insecurity in the Federal Republic of Nigeria? B. Possible link to terror financing and transnational groups. In an era of intensified global efforts against terror financing (TF), security agencies must investigate potential links between the significant funds supporting this large unregulated group and larger transnational terror network. The FATF framework, Nigeria guided by the Financial Action Task Force recommendations, must scrutinize the flow of funds to non-profit religious sounding organizations to prevent their exploitation to terrorism or proliferation of small and light arms. The nexus of crime and terror. The funds used to sustain such a large-scale private group could provide a direct financial pipeline that can be easily diverted to procuring arms, facilitating arms proliferation, or funding militant activities, much like the complex financial network that support the terror across the Sahel region. Call for action. The Global Center for Conscious Living Against Corruption, a coalition of civil rights organizations in Nigeria, in collaboration with over 92 civil society organizations, hereby call for the following immediate decisive actions. 1. Immediate disbandment. The Kano state government must issue a definitive public statement declaring Hizbah independent, Fisabilillahi, illegal, unlawful, and an enemy of the state security. 2. Comprehensive security investigation. The Nigerian Police Force, the DSS, the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, NFIU, must, as a matter of urgency, launch an urgent, comprehensive, and transparent investigation into the following. 1. The promoters and structure of the group. 2. The sources, management, accountability, or its substantial funding. 3. Any possible link with political militia, arms proliferation, or international terror financing network. 3. Proactive youth engagement. The government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as well as the government of Kano State, must develop urgent socio-economic intervention programs to address the poverty and unemployment being exploited to recruit vulnerable youths into such dangerous formations. In conclusion, allowing the emergence of a parallel Hizbah group under the guise of religious or humanitarian efforts, especially with alleged deep political ties and significant untraced funding, is equivalent to planting a seed of anarchy and future violence. The time for decisive action is now, before a private political experience in Kano metamorphosizes into a national security catastrophe. Thank you. This briefing is signed by my humble self and Malam Mohammed Sadiq. Thank you.
Everyone who has articulated the whole issues. Of course, you understand that the recent categorization of Nigeria as a country of particular concern is something that has drawn misreactions. And unfortunately, Nigeria is a place where people try to politicize every issue. The United States have... the United States have taken a stand, and the stand that they have taken has energized reactions across political divides. And at a time such as this, what is important is that Nigerians from across the political spectrum must come together to ensure that everything that will enhance and embody unity is embraced. So we are appealing to Nigerians across the spectrum to ensure that at a time like this, that there is unity and probity amongst Nigerians. We must come together. This is not a time to begin to proliferate different security organizations that will eventually do harm to the collective interest of Nigeria. So we think that this press conference is germane, so that Nigerians can begin to do the right thing. And as the Dr. Wambo has clearly pointed out, this parallel organization is something that demands immediate disbandment, so that we can have one single state cohesion of force that will bring unity and peace, not only in Kano, but across the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
Power poses a profound threat to Nigeria's constitutional order and national security. Such actions erode the authority of legitimate state institutions, undermine the monopoly of force vested in the government, and create parallel power structure and weaken democratic governance. When influential figures sponsor or organize armed groups, it signals to the public that the rule of law is optional and the personal power left unchecked. The future is not written by militias. The future is written by citizens who choose peace, who choose justice, and who choose unity. Thank you so much.